Hello, everyone, and welcome to our discussion. Thank you for being here. We are here to speak about challenges, the pain, the strengths, and the most important, the path toward for women who have been physically and emotionally injured by war. The panel brings together voices of survivors, medical experts, international allies, and business leaders. Let me first introduce our group. Alyona Palamarchuk on our screen, 20 years old civilian survivor from drone strike in Kyiv. Her story and trauma, medical struggle, and resilience sparkled this very initiative. Dr. Lesia Zgrzeblovska, head consultant of Kyiv Emergency Hospital, professor of anesthesiology and intensive care. She actually leads Alyona's initial treatment. Lionel Blackman, United Kingdom-based human rights lawyer and director of Surrey Stands with Ukraine. His organization has supported Ukraine for several years through numerous humanitarian projects, including vacuum therapy devices and consumables. Noel Shahed from United States, America, volunteer from California, member of Royalty Club, providing delivering aid across the country to hospitals, internally displaced families, and volunteer carriers since fall 2023. Anna Golotova, HR professional with over 10-year experience of leadership across Ukrainian and European in multinational corporate environments, co-founder of Ukrainian Pickleball Foundation, driving social impact and inclusive sports development through international partnership. Dmitro Afanasyev, project lead for negative pressure wound therapy with the charity foundation Color, and here I will moderate, first time in my life, this panel discussion. So I apologize if something went. I hope so. So our first block is Alyona's story and personal tragedy that sparkled the moment. We begin with a story that inspires everything here, and story of survival, of pain, and incredible strength. Your strength, Alyona. Your story is not just a personal, that's what I feel, that's what we feel about it. That's why we are here. It represents hundreds of others, women. And we are honored that you are here with us today and speak with us. Question to you, Alyona. You are only 21st-year-old, and you already know what it means to be at the edge between life and death. How did you survive that day? And what gave you the strength to keep going and to seek help?
Thank you. Hey, everyone. Yes, a few days ago, on July 15th, I celebrated my second birthday. 2 years ago, on July 12th, it was just an ordinary day, work, dinner, a call with my family, and a quiet evening with my boyfriend. The only unusual thing, I couldn't fall asleep. Around midnight, I was still texting with a friend, and just an hour later, I woke up injured. From that moment, my life split into before and after. Sirens, smoke, dust in the air. my heart pounding, and I couldn't understand what was happening. When my boyfriend and I realized that I was wounded, he rushed to grab towels, trying to stop bleeding, all while repeating that he loved me. I told him to message to the building's group chat. Maybe someone nearby was a doctor. Then the ambulance evacuation during an air raid. While we were driving to the hospital, I kept begging them not to tell to my grandparents about it. And I even joked like, damn, I look terrible. I should have at least changed into nicer pajamas. When almost all the blood had drained from my body, I waved to my boyfriend, and doctors wheeled me into the operation room. I don't remember anything after that. But in general, I can't say I thought I was going to die. On the contrary, I believed I would be walking a day or two, and you know that they say you have to phrase your wishes to the universe carefully, and apparently I nailed it.
Thank you, Alyona. In those days, after the injury, what helped you the most? Or maybe I would say, was there anything or anyone that played a critical role in your recovery?
To tell the truth, I think physically it was doctors, but emotionally it was me. Because no one lying 2 months in bed, no one can't do this without me.
Yeah, you have very strong energy. That's why it really helped, and you love your life. That's why you have motivation to survive. And what would you say to someone who are unfortunately just at the beginning of this journey?
What could I say?
There are some women they just probably started this terrible journey. What would you say to them? How would you motivate them? What would be your words?
I think don't afraid to lose time. In the hospital, time feels like it stops, and you think I should be doing something, and I'm just lying here. Let go of that pressure. Life is the greatest value, and your body was fighting for it. Just imagine like it's a childhood summer vacation when the most important things were cartoons, eating, and waiting for visitors. Give yourself time to live it, let it go, and live your best life. The world didn't change. We did. And now each of us has a choice to close ourselves off or to use the second chance to fullest.
Thank you, Alyona. I would like to pass the microphone to your doctor. You called sometimes she's like my mother. Lisa, from the medical standpoint, why do injuries like Alyona require the special intention, special attention, and long-term care? And what makes these cases different from the typical?
What do I think? I think about the trauma of injured women It is rather different from the standard road traffic accident or probably falling from the height. So it is very dangerous because these injuries from the drones, missile attacks are accompanied by a very huge blood loss. And so the intensive care is very, very difficult in such cases. I would say that the women differ from the men. Why? The men are tall, they are more strong than the women, they have very heavy bones, a lot of muscle mass, they have more large organs such as the heifer, the kidneys, and so on. So, but historically, everybody think that women are more accommodated to the blood loss because of their because of their woman physiology. They are accommodated to septic shock because the woman deliver their child and some is infection in their female system, and so it's an art. I name Alyona as Pita, as a masterpiece that made Michelangelo when he was very, very young. I made this masterpiece not very young, but just experienced one. After experience in Great Britain, it was very, very useful for me. And so you need a lot of skills, you need a lot of knowledge, you need a lot of resources, such as vacuum systems, such as respiratory support systems, and the medicine on the state of art. Our professor that was delivering us physics in the medical university asked us, is the medicine an art or it's simply a job? Where everybody said that it's an art. He said, oh no, it's just a job. I would say medicine is the science, the art, and very, very heavy job. If you permit me, I would like to tell 3 very interesting stories. They're not very long, but they are very...
Take care of the time.
Okay, very, very pronounced. The first story will be about Alyona, about that awful summer day. So I often recall this story, and it is very often in front of my eyes. So it was very, very early in the morning, or probably very late at night, how to say it, and the ambulance made us a call that she is transporting a young lady in very severe hemorrhagic shock. So in Trauma Bay, all the trauma team gathered and we were waiting. The trauma team generally consists of trauma surgeon, vascular surgeon, traumatologist, intensive care doctor, anesthetic doctor, 3 nurses, X-ray technician, and doctor that makes ultrasound. So when Alyona was transported to our trauma bay, we saw that she is in a very, very severe hemorrhagic shock. She is very pale. Her heart is beating very, very fast. So that was a decision to insert a central venous line and to take her to the operation room. In the operation room, the surgeons seeing a very, very large defect. They start to stopping bleeding, but Alyona continued to bleed because he was very, very cold in spite of very warm summer day, because all her blood was on the floor. So we continued hemotransfusion for 2 days, and we used 21 liters of blood components. It's very, very much. Generally, the woman has about 4 liters of blood. And we change. And to the day third, Alyona probably had no own blood cell. It is a very difficult situation for intensive care doctor because the organism has its reaction. It's not his blood. The white blood cells sit in the lungs and made ventilation very difficult. So only after the first day, when Alyona stabilized 50 to 50, because her heart rate was very, very fast, we went to the CT scan, made full body CT scan, and we have seen that the only injury is her back. If you don't mind, Alyona, I'll show your back for the...
For audience.
For audience, yeah. So, no, are there?
Yeah, this is
No. Sorry, Alyona, it was your back with very, very massive defect, what was bleeding, and even experienced surgeons didn't know what to do. Because if you make the dress changes, it's very painful. And you need to sedate very deeply in order the patient not to feel pain. Sedate and make your drug killers. But I'll change to good photo. We made a decision. As for the surgeons, they inserted the vacuum system as the bleeding stopped. It is very important to stop the bleeding because the vacuum can suction the blood too. After the bleeding was stopped, the vacuum system was inserted, and with the senior anesthesiologist of our department, we made Alyona epidural anesthesia that is used in obstetric practice. You can choose the speed you infuse the anesthetics, and you can see that the patient doesn't feel pain. As I was know that she doesn't feel pain because you can see how the mimics of the face, the heart rate, the blood pressure. So was a decision to switch her from the invasive ventilator, because invasive ventilation has another point of view. It's invasive and the infection can come to the lungs. So Alyona was slightly sedated. I know she doesn't remember this, but we have take the tube from her trachea off and switch her to non-invasive air-warm respiratory machine. You don't see any scar on her neck because she was not tracheostomied. In such difficult cases, the tube is inserted in trachea to ventilate more comfortable. You can clean the teeth of the patient. The patient can drink little water, and the machine is ventilating, but it is a direct route of bacteria into the lungs. The airway is not invasive. It delivers warm oxygen, warm air oxygen mixture. So Alyona was about 3 days on this fantastic American machine, and after that she could breathe by her. But there was a very long period of repeated operations. You must change the vacuum system every 3 days because it gets dirty and gets obstructed. But it has a fantastic feature. It drains the blood off the wound. So it makes the wound clean, it takes off the inflammation, and also it is a very good reparative process. Why? Because the patients don't have heavy scars on their body. It is very important for the women because they're afraid that they are not so beautiful as before the trauma. They're afraid the meetings with their boyfriends, with their husbands, and this is a great psychological problem for them. For the men, it's all the same. The main thing not to feel pain.
I'd like to add additional question to you. So, are you saying that the VAC therapy is very vital to help in such a cases? And is it important from your point of view to scale this efforts all over the Ukraine? Because I think that if you wouldn't, as a hospital, wouldn't have these machines and the consumables, that probably will be difficult to help Alyona. Is it correct? And I will add a question because we have limits of time. In your experience, what are the biggest challenge for hospitals which are faced today when they are treating and supporting these women after this heavily injured from this missile and drone attack? If you can, couple of minutes, because...
So it's a great challenge for the hospitals. The hospital, our hospital, Emergency Kyiv Hospital, has very much for the traumatized patients from missile attack, from drone attack. The first is the experienced staff. It's the main. They have experience with severe trauma. It's number one. The second is the equipment. For a long time, we gain equipment from the Europe and from the US and from the Great Britain, and we are very delighted with the American respirators, American respiratory systems such as Airwar. We are very delighted with vacuum systems, with infusion machines from Germany. These everything help us to treat the patients. The hospital has good blood bank, and we have a lot of blood at any time of any group. What we have more, we have different infusion solutions, we have painkillers, analgesics, antibiotics, but such how to say it, devices, items are very important because you use these items once a time. And so the hospitals need the help of donors, volunteers, and it is very important because everybody thinks emergency hospital is not for us. We are very strong, we have a lot of money, we can go to the private clinics, but the problem is private clinics deals with light cases, with good outcome, because it's private and it's money. Other hospitals don't deal with severe trauma because it is very difficult and you have very much experience. Then you can get such good results as Alyona.
Thank you very much. If I understand you well, that from the professional point of view, the team point of view, you can do really a lot. What you need steady support by all the consumables to make sure that all the equipment is working and performing accordingly to provide that help that needed on time.
Yeah, I will say one moment and I finish. So intensive care is such as airplane, air forces, and the plane must fly only when it is equipped with good equipment, tested equipment. Then you have a good flight and a good result, and you come to the city what you want, to the country what you want. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Now it is very important to hear the voice from outside, from abroad, our friends who are supporting us for a long time. And I should say that Ukraine is full of strength, but it also needs help. And when national resources are fall short, international solidarity becomes vital for us. Let's hear from some of those who's come to help us and helping us and continue to help. I'd like to hear from Lionel Blackman. And the question to you, Lionel, you supported Ukraine through different channels for years. You and your organization. I know you, but I know that behind you it's a big organization. What about Alyona's case made you respond again? I think it's switched on. It's on.
Well, thank you very much for welcoming me in Kyiv. Not for the first time since the war broke out. I've had the privilege to meet many dedicated servants in the public and private and NGO sector who are giving so much of their time, showing their resilience and courage in defending their country and protecting the civil population and treating them when they are injured. The charity that I direct is known as Sari Stands with Ukraine. Sari, the equivalent of an oblast in your terms of administrative unit, a county. And the charity was actually motivated by two Ukrainian women who happened to be living in Surrey. They had married Englishmen. And they were the motivators behind establishing the charity with a group of friends. And we were just very fortunate, it was serendipitous really, that we were able to immediately commence our operation a week after the war started, as there was a friendly charity at our disposal that had humanitarian aid as one of its objects. I can't speak for every resident of Surrey or indeed United Kingdom or Western Europe as to what their motivation is when they support the humanitarian effort for Ukraine. But it is, I think, our consciousness of our own history and our experiences in the Second World War, of which we are reminded on a regular basis, whether it is in formal ceremonial moments such as D-Day or Victory in Europe Day or other commemorative occasions in our annual calendar, but of course by those films that remind us of the war, in which we had a struggle not dissimilar to that of yours, and that is to say the invasion by a foreign force of Western Europe, very small parts of Britain, but we were threatened with invasion by a regime that was despicable. So there was a readiness, a recognition of an extraordinary and unexpected, unbelievable repetition of a similar pattern of behaviour we wouldn't have thought was possible in the 21st century. So I think that is at core a motivation to be involved at a general level. But then, of course, it is personal stories that also play an extremely important part in continuing to motivate our public to support us. We are a charity that does not receive large funds from big donors, the corporate sector or large trusts or wealthy individuals. Ours is a charity that in a sense is a people's charity. It's very much ordinary members of the public, many of them, in their hundreds, in their thousands actually, that have donated across the 3 years that we have been raising funds, converting into transfers directly where cash is needed to purchase items directly in Ukraine, or to purchase items in the West and transport them, or indeed to transport over £1 million worth of goods that have been donated. The people behind that, in their thousands, have all been giving small amounts on a regular basis. And to maintain their interest and maintain their motivation, yes, the personal stories such as yours, Alyona, captivates their imagination, brings home to them the reality of war, what it can mean to an individual, what it can mean to a family, what it can mean to the residents of an apartment block, whoever may be victimized or casualties of the unlawful invasion of your country and the continuing terrorism that comes from the skies on Putin's command. And when we have the opportunity to share personal stories, there is a recognizable shift in goodwill and donations that we receive. So sharing your story was also important, as it is together with many other stories that we share. In this modern age, we are shaped and somewhat governed by the modern communications of our era. And of course, in the 21st century, I can't believe we're already a quarter of the way through it, we're talking social media, of course. Everybody's got their smartphone. Even I have begun to use a smartphone after reluctantly taking it on only this year. And I'm beginning to understand social media better than I did 6 months ago. But Instagram, I believe it's called, and X or Twitter and Facebook and so forth, well, we have specialists who use those media to reach out to our public on a daily basis, sending out messages about what's happening in Ukraine, including the personal stories. And so we're having to constantly stimulate the public. The goodwill is there, the base goodwill is there, but refreshing that interest remains paramount. We cannot take it for granted. And it's only natural after 3 years, which after all is a long time. I mean, the Second World War lasted 6 years, and that seemed a very long time to those who experienced it. But 3 years is already half that. It's a long time, and there is always a risk of what we call compassion fatigue, to use a cliche, particularly where there is the danger of what's happening in Ukraine being eclipsed by other tragedies, disasters and wars elsewhere in the world. So we're very grateful for all the support we receive from you in providing us with those personal tragedies, personal stories, and indeed stories of survival that encourage our public to keep Ukraine in the forefront of their mind, give us the donations that enable us to continue our work and solidarity with you.
Thank you, Lionel. I have a few more questions to you. To your opinion, how well does international community understand the suffering of Ukrainian civilians, especially women, and what would, from your point of view, help to bring more global attention to this issue?
I think that this needs to be answered in the way which I usually do when posed problems concerning a country in which I am a guest, because I'm not an expert on host nations, and the challenges that you may face in health equality between the sexes. I reflect first on health equality in my own country, and maybe there are some lessons from there that we can share if the experiences are common. Now, there's arguably the perception for many women in the United Kingdom there is an inequality, perhaps outside the field of maternity, in which, of course, men who are largely the decision makers, both in terms of allocation of resources and the question of what health concerns are the subject of research and development. So there are arguments in the United Kingdom about a lack of equality, particularly in the field of the health concerns of women going through menopause, hormone replacement therapy and so forth, that is not as readily available, perhaps, as it should be in our National Health Service. So medicine for centuries has been a male-dominated science, and that's common around the world. So that's the backdrop. And in terms then of the consciousness of women being victims of this war, I would say, and this can only be anecdotal, not statistical, not subject to a survey on my part or any other opinion pollster I know of, but anecdotally, I would say that there was less understanding and appreciation that women are perhaps facing a greater share of suffering outside the front line, that is to say, in the civilian sphere. And we were discussing this earlier, that it is more likely that women are at home and men at work, or indeed in the army. So when an apartment block is subject to a missile, it is more likely that there'll be women victims than men victims. And I don't think the West generally, or in my own country, are particularly conscious of that. And I think it would be appropriate to pivot a campaign of awareness, bringing attention to the greater suffering of women statistically in Ukraine. As to how the question of health equality is addressed in the domestic context of Ukraine, obviously I don't have those answers. But what we would be willing to do is respond. So if there are particular methods, therapies that address the particular gender differences, biological, psychological, social, of women victimhood in Ukraine, which we could support and campaign on, referring once again to the need to translate those messages into something social media friendly, then certainly I would be willing to pursue. But I must defer to those of you who have that expertise, because it would be wrong of me to suggest I have any expertise in the Ukraine context of those issues.
Thank you very much. Noel, you've been since fall 2023, and when we met last time, you told me that you have too many stories. Unfortunately, not the pleasant stories, but you have very experience about different situation, not only for women, for civilian, because you are bringing a lot of aid to volunteer centers, to the hospitals. What you have learned from those women, civilians you met in your experience here in Ukraine?
Well, like you say, I've been running around this country since fall 2023. And so what I've learned is my perspective. It's what I've seen. And we've really been all over the place. Down south to Odessa, east, Kharkiv, Kramatorsk, Mykolaiv out west. And so it's really different wherever you are in this country. Out east, of course, they're really getting slammed. So, what have I learned as far as the perspective of women? Older women, younger women, it depends a lot on where you are. More east, you're going to get stories like, a lady that was a displaced lady from Kramatorsk, a babushka, and she's saying, I just couldn't live in Kramatorsk anymore. Air raid sirens every day, all the time. And half of the city's been blown up, and I'm old, she's saying, at my age, I can't do this. And that was basically what she was saying. So that would be in a perspective of a lady like that. And I can tell a little story of a lady that we just met on Saturday in Kharkiv. We went to a restaurant bar having beers. And she's telling us her story that she was from Bakhmut. She lived with her boyfriend. A couple years ago, a missile hit a building 50 meters away. That's like 150 feet. Blew up the building, and she's with her guy, and the next morning her guy says, I'm not going to die like this. I'm not going to die in this bed, in this apartment. And so he goes down, he signs up, says, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die fighting for this country. And so now she's left alone. she decides to get out of Bakhmut like everybody would. She moves to Kharkiv. Years have passed. She loves her guy and she misses him and decides to join too, to be with him. This is the story. It's fresh. It's 4 days ago. And she goes to join, and they do the psychological assessment, and they say, you're not psychologically fit to join. And now she's devastated again. So these are the kinds of stories that you hear from the women. You know, another lady up in Zirkuni, it's north of Kharkiv again, near the border, like 20 miles. We were supposed to meet her a couple weeks ago. And she lined up with the administrators there for us to deliver aid. And so we go to meet her, and she's in Lithuania. And it was just a couple, 3 days ago that we're going to meet. But in that time, a glide bomb came and hit her town. These glide bombs are huge. You know, they make craters like 70 feet wide and 20 feet deep. I mean, I don't know that people realize just the kind of destruction and the kind of instability that this war is bringing to people, women especially, who can't really plan for the future. But, okay, so that's...
closer to the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's better.
So anyway, that's the long of that story. The long and the short, that's the long.
Do you think people who, in the West and the foreign countries, who consume the traditional Western media, they are getting accurate picture what's going on in Ukraine?
Well, I'm an American, so I can talk about American style media, you know, news, mainstream news type like CNN or Fox or something like that. And I don't think that people who watch that kind of media, those news channels, understand, first of all, who are Ukrainians? You know, who are these people? You know, where are they? And what is this country? I don't think they really get it at all. You know, they think that this could be some piddly country the size of Portugal or, you know, small state like Vermont or New York, and, you know, and that these people they think that they're really Russians, that they speak Russian. Ukrainians are really Ukrainians, and when you meet them, that's the first thing they're going to tell you. They're going to say, we are Ukrainians, we are not Russians. And I think the people in the West, like where I come from, they think Ukrainians, the Russians are, you know, they don't really know how to work because they've been living under a communist regime, they drink too much vodka, da, da, da. But Ukrainians, they're not only strong, but they're really smart, and they're really pragmatic, and they care a lot about learning. You know, for an example, how they've learned English in the last couple of years is incredible. Since 2 years ago, it's amazing. I mean, all these people, they really value, you know, being, you know, pragmatic, strong, orderly, clean people. Not like people in the West make the stereotypes of what Russians are. These people really are their own people. So that's, again, the long answer to your question.
Okay. Based on your experience in other areas like Africa, Amazonia, if I'm right, what feels unique, your speciality, and urgent about the Ukrainian situation right now?
So I think you're asking, how is the hardship here, or how is the crisis here different than like in places like Africa or the Amazon?
Because you have different experience in different area, probably different crises, but what makes Ukrainian crisis unique from your point of view?
Well, if you think of the types of crises in places like Africa or the Amazon, it typically has to do with them being very, you know, more underdeveloped countries with problems like food scarcity or malaria, you know, things like that. And they're the types of crises that maybe have been rolling on for time, like maybe generations. Or this crisis, I mean, again, it depends a bit on where you live. You know, if you're in the eastern parts of the countries like Donetsk, Luhansk, out really east, or maybe Crimea, which I don't know about Crimea. You know, they've been dealing with this for 10 years or more or longer. But the rest of the country, this is like this thing. It's shocking. You know, suddenly, you know, there are bombs falling in their cities. This is a whole different type of a crisis, type of a hardship. They don't know if they have to leave next week. A lot of these people are like, how, and the women especially, am I going to have to pack up and take my kids to Lithuania next week? Or am I going to be here next week? What's going to happen? So the crisis is quite different that way. So Dan's, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I would like to also share one story, what's one issue from the guy from Scandinavia. He couldn't present today, but I have a conversation with him. Also, for me, it was, I didn't recognize that this exists. So he had a picture of a lady, old middle-aged lady, lying in her bed under the broken, falling all this stuff from the ceiling after the strike of the missile attack. And this lady could not move herself because she is moved in the chair wheel. And in Ukraine, there is no possibility for such people to react on the strike attack. So it's also a question I would like to raise. Probably in other countries there is experience. Other countries, I hope not. In Israel, maybe there is experience how to deal with such a people, which disabled people. They also need to provide such a help at the moment where this information about the airstrike attack appears. So it's sad that I think that these people are staying in their building. If the building is hit by the missile, they have no chance to survive at all. Okay, not okay, but let me move further. Another block I would like to say about what is the thoughts and feeling from inside, from Ukraine, from Ukrainian business, from Ukrainian citizens. For me, sometimes I recognize myself that 3.5 years passed, and I really couldn't believe in comparison with what I feel 24th of February 2022, but we're still alive and we struggle and we never surrender. Ukrainian society passed through a very long road. We've saved our life, we raised millions of funds. Fortunately, we use this fund properly. We have good army, we have very strong society. But some problems, it's too big for us, honestly. We are unable ourselves, without help from abroad, from our friends, neighbors. It really pays a lot and we value it very significantly. So I would like we express this idea outside that we are not sitting and waiting help. We are doing what we can. There are some obstacles which gives us no possibility to be efficient now, but it doesn't mean that we're sitting and dreaming that we are doing to prepare ourselves for the day after. That's why I would like to ask Anna, from the point of view of knowledge of Ukrainian business. You work a lot in top-level Ukrainian businesses for a number of years. And what do you think, why at the moment this corporate social responsibility department are not so active in the direction to help Ukrainian injured women, and what could be done differently to make the situation change?
Thank you for your question, and thank you for inviting here. Oh, the same, yeah. Thank you. Closer, yeah. Again, thank you for question and inviting me here and being around you guys. Story is amazing, support is amazing, thank you so much. Professionalism is amazing too. And your moderation, by the way, even it's the first time, as you said. In terms of what business is doing and how it works in the big business, I would like to start that corporate social responsibility is included into the business strategy and has focused and very shaped and direct plan of action. And this is included in the annual budget, first of all, and is acting in formed areas and formed directions. For example, supporting children, supporting environment, veterans are included too. However, it's really the decision made, and this decision is made according to the business strategy, first of all. And with, as I said, strong objectives and strong KPIs and strong reporting to the stakeholders. And the decision to include the new area of to the strategy and exactly corporate social responsibility strategy and the list of these areas that are impacted and they are dealing with, it's not just because of somebody's opinion, nice to have, nice to do, nice to include. It needs it needs strong analysis and strong analytics. Why? Needs a lot of information, what is going on in the country, on the market, what is actually, what other companies are doing on this field and in this area too, what is important exactly for this company, and actually a strong understanding on the end result and on the impact. So it's a big process on the backstage and on this in this area. The topic was women, and exactly the topic we are discussing today. It's my personal opinion. This topic is a bit not enough legitimated now. So it's something that we need to talk about. Something that we need. We need to go through a deep research and also through the communication. And I think, in my personal opinion, is that 3 parts of this process should be involved, not only business, because as we discussed today, business is working. The capacity is not as we had 3.5 years ago. We work probably some businesses 10%, some businesses 20%, good if 30% of the previous capacity. And we have also different areas, unfortunately, not that we've chosen those areas, where to invest, where to focus. This has been brought by unfortunately, our very aggressive neighbor. However, we have to work together, business, community, social community, and investors. Because business, currently, I'm not talking before the war started, but currently, business can help.
You mean investors, donors?
Donors, sorry, that's about business again. That's kind of habit. Company and the corporate world can bring a communication and can bring resources, and those resources are not always financial resources. They can also help us human resources, logistic resources, marketing resources, and from the side of the business could be very, very helpful. The second part of the process is the community. And community, it is awareness, community, it is forming, and community, it is education. Both sides. From community to business, and from business to community. And the third...
I totally agree with you, because this is very valuable what you are saying. So we are not looking only for money.
Yeah.
It is important because money gives us possibility to purchase what is needed. And also we need an information, and we need So we need that information, and this situation and this problem and issue is spread all over the globe. So to attract resources, for instance, like in Alyona cases, yes, she is alive, looks nice, she lived her whole life, but she's, let's say, not really symmetrical as the human being. And she wants to come back to the shape she had, and we don't know information who and where in Ukraine can help Alyona in these cases. That is why this information is vital. If in any country there is a possibility to fix her to the shape she had before, that would be very useful for us. Plus, if the talks, in media outside between the businesses and between the charities would be understanding that this problem exists, at least this information will help to generate funds, to attract attention to us, and give us resources to act in this direction.
Yes, fully agree. And the third part of this, I would say, common and joint process. The third part is international donors, or in business case, investors. Yeah, because you guys, you can bring us the shape, and you can bring us the contingency. And those three elements could work well together, and those three elements could be the role model for similar initiatives, not only to this particular initiative, but in general. One more comment from me, from my not only corporate experience, why it's sometimes difficult and probably not very effective to include some new area for the kind of list of the corporate social responsibilities activities or the projects. Because we do the analysis, and we also look at the market, what other people doing, but we also look at the investors and the donors, what they are doing, what they are interested in. And very often, we unfortunately have to link our needs to the opportunities that the international donors provide. It means that if we don't find women in need or some very similar project what we are discussing now today in this list, what international fundraising companies and also donors do, it means that we are standing with this problem alone. And our message, or actually also my very personal message to donors and supporters will be that not only financial help is vital here, it's communication is vital here. If someone will decide that, oh, that's actually something that I could work on and will include in the list of potential activities, it could give also any other donors, any other supporters worldwide this idea, oh, this problematic exists. Maybe I will look at this differently. Maybe I will get involved in this. And it will be not only direct impact, like, oh, I will directly contact Alyona or directly contact you guys because you are dealing with it. They can create some program that could be also interesting for other donors companies to include it into the grant system too. Because this system works like this. If we have grant, oh, by the way, it's a problem I can solve with this grant. But the system, unfortunately, doesn't work very well that let's create the new future, let's create the new direction and the new grants that it can help many other women, and probably not only women, that are in need now. So it's always two sides direction. But in our case, it's the three participants model: society, business, international support. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I would add from myself a very short story. It was a meeting where a person from Sequoia investment company, it was a group of startuppers, and the question was, please tell us what is the best way to attract investor. And the guy was making a pose with a smile, existing investor. So once somebody from abroad already admit that there is a problem exists and give a penny, so it means that transaction happened, and it's an trigger and indicator to other charities abroad and to local businesses here, because say, wait, somebody from outside support our problem, we are also capable. At least we can give 2 penny, something like that. So this is like, Martnik, like how you call this? This is a watch with this stuff, which is okay. It's like a. It's okay. We call it snowballing, and this process starting from a very slow, and it can goes and goes and goes and goes. So it brings the big results. So we need action from both sides.
Yeah, and I just would like to add very quickly here, so that everything what we are discussing now here, it's not only about kind of pity. Yeah, we have the situation. It's not pity. It's about the reconstruction, restoring, and rebuilding the country again. Here, financial and human resources. And it's investment, and not only in the physical fixing, but this is investment in the future of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We've heard about the pain. We've heard about the strength. Let's talk about the hope. And one last round to bring this to our homes. I'll ask questions to every one of you. It will be 3 simple questions. Alyona, you are included. So the first question, what would you say to a woman who just survived in a missile strike and feel lost, alone, and broken? And what is one action you personally plan to take after today's conversation? Nair, what do you say?
Can I get a start?
Yes.
Let me see. To say to a lady who's a victim and feeling alone and lost, what I would say to her is, don't feel that way. Don't feel alone. You know, people do care. You know, people, their communities. The Ukrainians seem really good to be. They're good family people and have good friends. And so they're really not alone. In my opinion, compared to where I live, where we live a lot more of an independent kind of a life. As far as what am I going to do after leaving here to do something? Well, I'm a Rotarian. I'm going to go start pounding the pavement of my local Rotary clubs and try to tell them about what's happening with wound therapy and the situation with women and being injured as they are. And I'm going to try to get them to join my club, to get the necessary funds together, to submit a global grant, as big a grant as we can, to cover as much of the country as we can, but at least to meet the minimum amount. So that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you very much. Alyona, would you say from your side?
For women,
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you say to the women who just survived from the missile attack? What would be your words for them, not to feel alone and broken?
I just want to say that we need to be strong, and that's all.
Simple. Simple. Lionel.
I would also say that you need not feel alone, and I would seek to put that into practice by asking the victim if she consented to her story being shared with the supporters of our charity in England. And if she was shy about her real name being used, we could use a pseudonym to protect her. But the story and the details of what happened, I would invite her to share with our supporters. And then I would say to her that I can guarantee that next week you will receive a letter from 500 women in Surrey expressing their solidarity with you. And if you told me what the price might be for part of the repair of your apartment or some furniture or some private treatment, those 500 women will contribute to a fund to make good. You need not feel alone.
Unbelievable. Thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you.
really impressive. Just one notice, we will ask to add a link within this video. With Alyona, we have created a Google form, so though if these ladies who unfortunately are passing these terrible things are ready to join the community and share their stories, we'll share this link, and please fill the form, and you'll not be alone. You'll be with us, and we do our best to give everything we could to give you back to your happy life. Anna, what is your words?
I will act as Ukrainian, and I will also act now as someone who has international experience. So as Ukrainian, I will say be strong. Completely agree with your comment, Alyona. And as international, using my international experience, I will say you are not alone. It's true. And my personal commitment here is to share the story everywhere, within all my international friends community, and not only friends community, as much as I can, to attract attention to the story and to this problematic. And also personal commitment is here, try to find the same story somewhere else, but the same story with someone who went through and through this situation, through this trauma, and to share the outcome, to share what has, yes, surely it changed your life. And yes, surely it changed somebody's life. But it could be also the new beginning, the new start, and the new story. So I would like to find those people, and I would like to connect you with those people, to communicate. And this connection could surely be the new beginning for the entire story. And it could also create a massive impact.
Thank you very much, Anna. Listen, from all the doctors of Ukraine point.
From all the doctors of Ukraine point, I would say in such situation, you are not alone. The doctors, nurses, cleaners are near you. Your family is right near you. Your friends are near you. And this time when you are on the ICU bed, on the bed in the department, you have a good opportunity to educate. So take a psychological books, especially Edith Eger, the American psychological, that she's 94 years old, and she came through the German concentration camps. She survived. She made a new life then in America. It was for her very difficult, and he was in 40 years after her children grew, began to study psychology. In 50, she became a doctor of psychological. She wrote a dissertation, and so she's 94. She's full of enthusiasm. She has sons, daughters, grandsons, great-grandsons, and the life never stops. So don't give up.
Thank you. So it looks like these women already are not alone. At least we have 5 people sitting here who are ready to support. And what I meant personally, not alone, it means that the government also should take place at certain time, at least support somehow. And also, I've heard some ideas that the municipal government, city administration also should be involved, especially to provide disabled people for evacuation, etc. And if our voices will be heard by them, probably we create a bigger group support these people. And from other hand, if civilians talk to us, share their stories, we could create a bigger wave. Snowball effect will be stronger, has more power, and it can bring attention from inside and from outside, both from businesses, from charities, from the big corporate social responsibility department. I'm really thank everyone who participate today for your time, for your efforts, for what you were doing and what you will be doing in the future. I think it's really important to start talking in this direction. And because all the issues and problems which are around us can be solved if we focus our attention and we generate this attention as a big group, and then it will be from seeding process to flourishing process to the fruiting process to the harvesting process. And then you're laughing because harvest it's smile. So we need to our harvest where all problems will be in this direction resolved. So thank you very much one more time, and all the best.
Very nice.